A secret deal is underway that could potentially bring an end to the long-standing tensions between the United States and China. U.S. Envoy John Kerry has been engaging in confidential talks with China's influential figure, Wang Yi, and it seems they are making strides toward a resolution. Get ready to uncover the details of this negotiation. So let's get started. You know, when two rivals are tired of clashing and want to bury the hatchet, they send their top officials to open the doors of cooperation. Well, that's exactly what the U.S. is doing. One after another, high-ranking U.S. secretaries and envoys are flying to China, hoping to make amends and get things back to normal. Recently, John Kerry.
You flew on that plane?
Not in a number of years, but I have flown on it, sure.
The U.S. Special Envoy on Climate paid a visit to China with a special mission in mind, to put an end to the ongoing tensions between the two nations. But here's the juicy twist. John Kerry and China's foreign policy mastermind, Wang Yi, go way back and have worked together in the past. Although Kerry's visit was framed as a climate envoy's trip, there was more to it. Behind closed doors, he spilled the beans. The U.S. is ready to make an end to the chip war. But what exactly went down during his visit, and what hush-hush conversations happened between Kerry and Wang Yi? Get ready, because we've got the inside scoop on China's innovation stories, projects, and growing influence in the world. If you're into fast-paced development, especially China's development and rising power, you're in for a treat. We will reveal the fascinating tale of how U.S. climate envoy John Kerry's visit could spell the end of the U.S.-led chip war. Buckle up, it's going to be an exciting ride. In a diplomatic dance, high-ranking U.S. officials have been flying to China to make amends and find an escape route from the chip war they ignited. First, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken made the trip, but it didn't lead anywhere. Next, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen visited, but the Treasury Department had no hopes of ending the chip war. But here's the catch. The U.S. wants to shift its policy because American chip makers are losing markets due to a lack of essential raw materials and rare earth metals from China. However, the U.S. can't just back out openly, fearing public backlash and damage to Joe Biden's presidential chances in 2024. So they created a strategy: make China want peace and request a ceasefire. To execute this plan, President Biden sent his most experienced man, John Kerry, who serves as the U.S. Special Envoy on Climate, leveraging his personal ties with Chinese officials, especially Wang Yi, the mastermind of China's foreign policy. The recent talks between John Kerry and China's top diplomats are critical, not just for addressing climate issues, but also for the complex relationship between the two countries, strained by disputes over trade, technology, and Taiwan's status. Kerry is hopeful that these climate discussions can lead to a transformation in the overall U.S.-China relationship. But here's the reality check. Cooperation can't be forced. It must be mutual. The U.S. imposed export restrictions on chips without considering the consequences, leading China to suspend certain contacts with the Biden administration.
They looked at me like, why cancer? Because no one thinks we can.
Now, the U.S. is trying to make up for past mistakes, but only time will tell if their efforts will bear fruit in this intricate diplomatic tango. In a delicate balancing act, John Kerry reassures China about President Biden's commitment to fostering stability in U.S.-China relations and collaborating on global challenges. Something feels different about this visit. John Kerry has held various titles in the U.S. government and built deep relationships with Chinese officials, especially Wang Yi. Perhaps he is conveying that the U.S. is currently on the weaker side in the ongoing war. Their body language may reveal who has the upper hand, but Wang Yi acknowledged Kerry as an old friend and appreciated the efforts made by both sides during the extensive 12-hour discussions in Beijing. Although Kerry's visit is primarily focused on climate cooperation, it's important to note that China recognizes the connection between addressing global warming and broader political concerns. Both countries have set ambitious goals for carbon neutrality. Kerry believes that these climate talks have the potential to bring transformative changes to the broader U.S.-China relationship. However, even beyond the chip restrictions, the U.S. has also made climate cooperation difficult with taxes on Chinese goods. The debate over solar panels has been ongoing since they were introduced during the previous administration. The main aim of imposing taxes on Chinese solar products was to protect American solar manufacturers, who argued that low-priced Chinese panels were hurting their businesses. Chinese-made solar panels are cheaper, leading to the displacement of American manufacturers. Solar energy is one of the cleanest and most renewable sources of power, crucial for climate preservation. However, the U.S. has been reluctant to allow Chinese solar panels into the country. This issue has become even more complex with the Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act, which seeks to boost renewable energy efforts and clean energy manufacturing in the U.S. President Joe Biden has taken some measures to address this issue, like temporarily pausing taxes and rejecting attempts to remove exemptions. But at the same time, over 1,000 shipments of solar panels from China have been blocked. This conflicting approach by the U.S. creates confusion and undermines its own policies. China has expressed opposition to the taxes, arguing that they hinder the global transition to clean energy. Beijing emphasizes that if the U.S. genuinely wants climate cooperation, it should refrain from politicizing China's solar panel production. Batteries have also become a point of discussion. The U.S. is concerned about China's dominance in the electric vehicle battery supply chain, fearing China's control over the global supply of EV batteries. Instead of seeing every entity as a rival to compete with, the U.S. should consider accepting reality and finding ways to move forward.
Some Lego play, right? It's about figuring out how to do something quicker, more efficiently.
Unfairly blocking Chinese solar panels and batteries only hinder potential climate cooperation and global progress in renewable energy. The U.S. seems to be engaged in a full-scale war with China on various fronts, from chips to solar panels, batteries, rare earth metals, and more. The confusion within the U.S. government is evident as it faces Chinese threats in every sector, leaving them feeling paranoid. Instead of seeking further cooperation on climate issues, it's expected that the U.S. will impose additional restrictions on battery imports. In May, the U.S. canceled a grant to a company citing concerns about its alleged ties to China's government, raising fears about potential actions affecting battery trade.
Actually, China's real skill, how to make things and make it commercially viable, and then cheap and accessible.
While there is potential for collaborative efforts and knowledge sharing regarding battery technologies, this seems far from reality unless the U.S. overcomes its paranoid behavior. The cycle of wanting to cooperate on one hand and restrict on the other creates roadblocks to meaningful collaborations. The question arises, will this visit by John Kerry make any difference? It almost appears as if Biden is sending U.S. officials to make China want peace in the chip war. All right, guys, that's it for today. We'd love to hear your take on whether China should give a green signal to end the conflict or continue to punish the U.S. further. If you want to watch more videos like this, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to get exclusive content from us. Your insights and opinions always impress us, so keep them coming.